My perfect summer. Some of my earliest memories are those from summers spent with my family in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I can remember waking up before the sun had risen and sleepily making my way to the car. My sister and I were crammed in the back seat with all of our luggage, a week's worth of necessities threatening to overflow on us as we settled in for the long journey. The 5-hour car ride that stretched in front of us was always one long awaited, the topic of conversation for weeks prior. It was the longest and hardest part of our trip. At the end laid the Bourne Bridge, and after that our summer vacation haven, Cape Cod. Every time we pulled up the gravel driveway at our house in Eastham, Olivia and I would jump out of the car and quickly run inside to reclaim our beds from the year prior. We would help our parents unload the car and make the decision of where to go for lunch, usually Arnold's, a family favorite. Starting our vacation off right, we would have lobster lunch and take a trip to the food store. The first day routine was well established and had been practiced for 18 years. The week that followed was filled with all of my favorite vacation activities. My family would wake up early and start packing up our beach bags and the cooler. The first day of the season is spent at no other than Campground Beach, a short bike ride from our house, a quaint beach on the bay. We would pick a perfect spot and put our stuff down, knowing that we would just have to move it later when the tide came in. Moving with the tide has been a large part of my summers in Cape Cod. Most of the beaches my family went to were bay beaches, Campground, Skakit, and Lighthouse. Throughout the day, the tide would drift in and out, an extremely noticeable difference from the time we arrived to the time we left. When the tide comes in, it grazes the edge of the beachgoers' towels and chairs, leaving little to no sand room left. As it goes out, expansive sandbars are exposed, and you can walk out for miles. It looks like there was never any water there in the first place. Tides are a big deal for Cape Cod and its residents. In all of Cape Cod tourism guidebooks, there is a high and low tide time chart. Prime beach days and fishing boat dockings are determined according to the tides. It was always my responsibility to check the tide times before we would go watch the fish be unloaded from the boats. If we went during the wrong time of day, the posts of the pier would be in dry patches of sand and boats would be nowhere to be found. I learned a lot about tides from being a summer regular in Cape Cod. I learned that tides are influenced by the moon's gravitational pull on the Earth. As a result of the Earth's and moon's rotations in relation to each other, Cape Cod experiences high tides every 24 hours. We would arrive at the beach in the morning while the tide was going out, and by lunchtime we could walk out as far as the eyes could see. We would leave the beach and return later on to watch the sunset, and the tide would be making its way back in at a dramatically fast rate. Watching the sunset over the bay with my family is the most meaningful memory of all my times in Cape Cod. We'd pull up to the edge of the dunes and make ourselves comfortable, wrapped in blankets and sweatshirts. The sun would slink its way down the sky, creeping closer and closer to the horizon line. The audience would watch in silence as the small, bright orange blob would disappear below the water, signaling the end to another day in paradise.